everybody for the warm welcome. I'll be talking about PostgreSQL, the database sister of Python, the elephant in the snake. If you come to this talk, you probably ask yourself this question: who is this guy? What qualifies him to talk about databases? What is Postgres? Why is the database system of PostgreSQL? How to load Python? And of course, how to synergize PostgreSQL in the cloud for social networking in Web.2. First thing, who is this guy? What qualifies him to talk about databases? I was doing this information for a customer 2 weeks ago, and I started, when did I first connect with databases? And I found out all this was in 1984 at age around 15. I had my first contact with NoSQL databases. It was on Commodore 64, running on a VC 1541 floppy drive with direct access files. They had 248 bytes because you needed 8 bytes for the addressing. And I just learned that the performance measures we took that time, having short variable names, still is valid in other NoSQL databases today. So, starting in 1989, I did some IBM 37.2, M3S, LOS4SE, host programming. I programmed with ABAP 4, it's from SAP, a host programming language for GL. And I started doing development in DBase 3. Who knows DBase 3? Who has programmed in DBase 3? Who thinks it sucks that they broke down in 4? Me. I learned something for it. And just one technical measure: if you have questions, try to interrupt me, and we do the questions immediately. And when I was I was thinking, that was not the first time when I had to do something with databases. And there's a joke I made up. What is the primary need of a database guy when he has one backup? What do you think? Yes, totally a second backup. And I remember when I was a small child, 4 to 7 years, I had in the kitchen a special drawer for my sweets. And I think I'm the only child whose sweets got stale because I always kept them until I had backup sweets to eat them. And I think that being a database guy who always needs a backup may be one of the reasons why I'm a singer at the moment. The concept of an additional backup girlfriend really missed acceptance in the market. I think I have to think over it. And talking about concepts I have to think over, in 1990, I was in my education with all the source people, and they asked me, could you do a seminar how to use personal computers? It was IBM PS2 at time for people, and I had a revolutionary placement of chairs. I just had the tables in a U, and I put them in the inside. So they had to turn around to me if they wanted to listen, and could not, there was no internet to serve, but do whatever. And if they had problems while opening a file in Microsoft Word or IBM text form, nobody knows it anymore, I immediately saw it. No acceptance on the market. So I wanted to do PC host coupling, that's personal computers, and IBM 3270. If you don't know what 3270 is, ask Martelli what he also did with this stuff. And I had my first contact with replication, Novell SFT3, which was just last week decoupled from having the longest announcement phase without being vaporware by Duke Nukem. They took 7 years to get it out, or 8 years. Every year, oh, we'll have it next month. After that, I hired with a company. I was the chief information officer, or whatever it's called in German. I supervised the making ready of a management system which was programmed externally in FoxPro. Who knows FoxPro? It was a great product. Bill Gates agreed, bought it, and it is not yet great. Later, so I migrated that application to PostgreSQL and PHP. I was young, I needed the money. And in 1999, at the 1st of May, technically the 2nd of May, I founded my own company, IT Consult, Harald Massert's my name. And I did software to create documents using some market-leading database that time. I still supported the PostgreSQL database, and I did a lot of seminars on PC topics. I was a subcontractor of a small consulting company and did some training on sending an email in Lotus Notes. We went through 3,500 people. We told them how to send an email every day. Morning 10 people, afternoon 10 people. It was cool. And they always sent me to other countries. I've been to Kabul. Our job was to re-qualify Mujahideen to be controllers for better impact. We did some economic trainings, and I really got the hang on those doing seminars, and I guess that's a picture I won't show on US CAICOM. He was with Amir Shah Massoud in the North, but they were the friends of the Americans in the war, so could still be. And in 2002, I really got the hang of Python, and I started to make a web publishing tool used on Python, and PostgreSQL. It started work with the COM and made HTML storing database, publish it. Later, my first entrance in the PostgreSQL commit log, I'm so proud. I suggested, hey, why don't we group the commands in the help file of the PSQL, that's the command line connection tool of PostgreSQL, by their content instead of alphabetically, because there was show table, show user, list table contents, show table contents. I'm so proud. Next thing, I'm very proud. In 2003, I had my first talk at the EuroPython. It was a little shaky because before me there was Armin Rigo announcing PyPy, doing PyPy stuff in Python, and there was Alex Martelli talking about meta classes and why you don't need them. And then I came with, I did a tool which prints out some Excel sheets. But I was welcome, and I did the talk, Stop Promoting Pythons. With 2005, I started to be part of the organization of EuroPython. In 2006, I started Master of Server Learning talks. In 2005, I created an iBooks Daily to do something in the database and created it on HTML, Vector2, internal stuff to fill out forms. And with doing all the stuff, I was one of the first people using PostgreSQL on Windows, really debugging with instant client on. Not instant client, instant messaging on. Magnus in Sweden, this driver does not belong and does not work, getting the patched version. And I started to translate pgadmin 3, that's a graphical client of PostgreSQL, to German. My tool, that's a picture of it, was also extended to do documentation. We won a Best Practice Award together with a customer for that solution. The customer got a little nervous with me traveling to Kabul and how to make the maintenance of the software better, so he sold me to another software company who sold my software. We installed that software to 14 insurance brokers in Germany, and I had to do the second level support, that is everything about it does not work up on for PostgreSQL. And I really got to trust the elephant, because that customer we won that award with, in the beginning they only gave me a very old server from HP with a virtual machine with not fitting drivers, so we had a blue screen a day. Blue screen a day, which operating system? Windows. Great, blue screen a day. And after 1 week or so, the people from the IT department were not there. I got the call, it's not working. I logged in on the server, it's a blue screen. I told them, please restart it. We don't tell you every time it blue screens. And it's a running database, and it blue screened out of the blue, and Postgres lost no data. In 2008, I tried some different careers. I got the member of the German Speakers Association, and worldwide, I'm the only trainer who has an official license to make a fool of myself on stage, and I'm the only trainer in the world who can tell you about SQL 3-level joins and has an education in NLP and those stuff. Okay, next thing, I love lightning talks, so I gave one in Paris at the PG Day Europe. That's a PostgreSQL version of the EuroPython. And I really got into the Postgres community. I feel very welcome. It's like the EuroPython community, the Python community, that's why they are sisters. And I got in contact with Simon Ricks, the founder of Second Quadrant. He was giving a keynote there. So in 2010, a lot of great things happened. I was so proud to become a member of the Python Software Foundation. It was really something that moved me. I was so thankful. In summer in Birmingham, Simon Rix suggested that I shall do second quarter in Germany. We called it Deutschland because it was easy in the marketing. And in 2010, in the autumn, I founded my former company, Limited, and I was in staff in a Fiji Day. And in the January, I really founded second quadrant Deutschland. And we do 24-hour support, remote DBA, migration to Postgres, training, replication, high performance database recovery, and I am the one who sells in Germany. So I want to persuade you to use PostgreSQL to grow the market, to get richer, because I start to play golf. And to make the elephant happy. What is PostgreSQL? PostgreSQL is a database management system. It has relational features and object relational features. It was totally rethought for multi-user and high concurrency design in 1986. It's a client-server architecture. Positive thing, you can do those server stuff. Negative thing, it sucks at embedding. And it's standard compliant. ED2 SQL standard 2008. You can't comply to the full standard, but mostly standard compliant. Why is it important to have standards? At PyCon US, I got a great mug. It's a really great mug, but you see some problem up here, and I focus on it. That's my coffee machine. And because we don't have standards for the mugs, they don't fit under. So, if you don't have standards for databases, it's just a problem to work with other things. And in database standards, there are some levels. -1, I don't know there is a standard. Level 0, you ignore the standard. Level 1, you don't care to implement the standard. You try to implement the standard, and you implement the standard. And you can get the Eagle Scout of databases. You can be part of the standards committee, the SQL standard committee. And I'm very proud to be in the company that represents PostgreSQL in the ISO committee. And you know, we Germans are good at some things, and doing standards is one of them. The second quadrant, Germany, Deutschland sponsors the membership of DEAN for creating the SQL standard.
There was one thing missing. You make your own standard.
You make your own standard, yes. I guess you can subsumize it to ignore a standard. We write the official standard, I guess the better way. The name. In 1986 to 1993, Stonebreaker at the Berkeley University developed Postgres after Ingress. So post, it's Latin for after. Oh, I don't have to talk Latin in Italian. So PostgreSQL was no SQL at that time. It was PostQL query language. And incidentally, another sponsor of this conference also has a heritage of that technology. So it's like with the human and monkeys and evolutionary theory, humans are not descendants of monkeys, but we have common ancestors. It's the same with PostgreSQL and Oracle. PostgreSQL is the official name. You can shorten it to Postgres. If you shorten it to Postgre, we use it as an autofilter on the mailing support list, you immediately get below level 0, because we know he didn't even open the documentation. Some about the limits: database size unlimited, table size 32 terabytes, maximum row size 1.6 terabytes, maximum field size 1 gigabyte, maximum rows per table unlimited, maximum indexes per table unlimited, and maximum columns. You just can divide the maximum row size by your columns. So, it's open source software. Free to use, free to distribute, open to improvements. And why is it the sister? Yesterday somebody was talking about another database and was saying, oh, it's a perfect match to Python. Postgres can't be a perfect match because they are sisters. And you should not match with your sister. Let's look at the license. That's the PSF license. That's TLDR. Who knows what's TLDR? Too long, didn't read. So that's the gist of the Python license. PSF owns Python. Do what you want with Python. PSF does not become your daddy if you use Python, and PSF is not obliged to clean up if you screw things up using Python. That's the PostgreSQL license for the whole database, for the whole product. Also the TLDR. PGDG, Postgres Global Development Group, owns PostgreSQL IP. Do what you want with it. Don't come crying if something fails. Now, for comparison, I have the license of another market participant for his compact 100 megabyte client libraries for his database. So, the TLDR of this, you may do some specific things we do allow you. And we restrict our responsibility to legally possible minimum. What is the challenge with this kind of license? Maybe there could be something in that license that you don't know what. What is the cost to analyze this license? If you do it for production, for your company, if it's a critical company of your company, you should check it by legal services. What does one page of checking legal contracts cost? We did it, it's around 200 euros for PG Europe. We had to check the contract by a cheap lawyer, and it's the lower limit, 200 per page. There could be something in the license. Who knows this picture? It's the human centipede. It's from South Park, and Kenny did not read the iTunes license when clicking through. And somewhere in the iTunes license there was a clause that Apple is allowed to do medical experiments because it clicked. You can't risk that stuff. I don't tell that other database vendors put this in the contract, but do you know? You have to check with your lawyer. And a friend of mine is doing license management for a public company, and they have around 4,500 computers, and it's a full-time job. She's doing license management. She's not buying the license, just counting, do we have as much as we think we have? Do the vendors think we have as much as they think? And it's a normal amount. She met other ladies. That's a field of computer where a lot of women are, license management. And they have 3 people for 13,000 users. So you can roughly think 50 to 80,000 euros per year just to manage your licenses if you use other licenses. In PostgreSQL, we have one license for the whole product, not for the client libraries, not for the database, not for something, for all of it. There is no separation of community license, partly commercial, fully commercial, whatever, enterprise, sub-enterprise, left enterprise, Deep Space Nine. We have just one license per client, not one license per server for everything. You can use it. It's owned by the PostgreSQL Global Development Group, and that global is really important. Really global, all over the world. And that's important. Why? I have here some SQL code I wrote some years ago to connect to another market participant. And they had some challenges with encodings. So to have a multi-byte encoding like UTF-8, you had to cast the database variables to nvarchar, and you had to know in advance how large the maximum cast will be. It's a great database, and they have a big budget for research and development. But I think the managers who decide what gets developed sit in one country which only have English languages. So getting European encodings right is not on top one priority, because there are other things that are more important. In PostgreSQL, we have a thing, people scratch their itch. So we have a lot of things, not what other databases have, which are very important for marketing. But in encodings, we have got the Japanese people. And if you think encoding sucks because you're in Europe, you should be in Japan. That's something from global developers. If you choose a database, it will be a long-term relationship, like brother and sister. It's not like a MySpace profile who nobody has anymore. It's not like a friends list on Facebook. It's more like the high-level armor in a multiplayer online role-playing game, something you have for some time. So if you decide to use a database, be very sure it will be 10 years and more. You should be sure that the producer of the database and you, your company, your plans match. It's not like a one-night stand, it's like raising a child. Because your data sets will live on, so make sure your plans are compatible. And that leads us to the challenge of ownership. Who owns the copyright of your open source development tool? You decided open source is great, I need to have open source. Who owns the copyright of your development tools? A single company? An individual? Could it be bought? What would happen? Maybe the new owner has other policies of dealing with open source. They may not be compatible with your plans. In Python, the PSF is the owner. It's a non-profit organization devoted to advancing open source technology related to blah blah blah. With PostgreSQL, it's the PostgreSQL Global Development Group. That's as much as Yama Lama Ding Dong or the Flying Spaghetti Monster. It's a little bit more real. It's not incorporated, it can't be sued, it can't be bought. So we have the core team, which is the spokespeople for the PostgreSQL Global Development Group, but it's nothing that can be bought. PSF is not viable, it's in the bylaws. PGDG is not viable because it's not really existing as an incorporation. If you choose a database, no matter what, relational, post-relational, pre-relational, availability of support is a very important thing. With PostgreSQL, you have multiple providers of support. I have some examples. The first one is Credative. It's a German company. They do PostgreSQL development and they support all the stuff around the open source stack like Apache, Linux and something. We have Cybertech. You get PostgreSQL support with Wiener Schnee from Hans Schoenig in Wien. You have EnterpriseDB, that's more an American Indian company who does a lot for the PostgreSQL project in kinds of getting the Windows. They have more American way of life within the company. We have Dalibo in France, and of course I would suggest you go to second quadrant. I don't have hidden again, it's quite open. We have a European base, but we have guys in Ecuador, in the United States, in Italy, in France, in Germany, and in the northern states. And we think we are the best, but I guess the other things are too. The important thing is you make an elephant happy, and every of those supporters has access to the source code. Everybody can get down to the source of the problem and solve it for you. You need opportunities to get the patches into the main release, because else you get your own fork for your private solution. That's not good. Every of those companies, and there are many more who provide support for PostgreSQL, have the opportunities. Some are more connected to the community, some are less connected, but all support providers of Postgres can. So if you choose us, second quadrant, and you don't like us anymore, you have multiple possibilities for support providers to choose them. So we would like you to have for you, but we are also happy if you choose somebody else to support your Postgres. So not as happy, but you have the choice, and nobody has the force to get better support because he has limited resources to access. The structure of the development, that's a very important thing if you choose an open source product. Who decides which patches and features go into the software? If your open source product is owned by a single company, they will decide which features go in, which bugs will fix, which bugs will not be fixed. That may be a challenge because they have other priorities. There are political decisions, there are technical decisions, there are marketing decisions. With PostgreSQL and Python, we have a meritocracy. In German it's like easier to pronounce. who do the work, do the decision. It's from Latin meritum, achievement, like in Halo, and kratein, it's about to rule. Those who have achievements do rule. Those who do the work do the decisions. Within PostgreSQL, if you get a lot of merit badges and do a lot of PostgreSQL related stuff, sometime you get promoted to the core team, and then you'll be with the spokespeople and do the decisions on the software release stage, which features go in. We try to have a process. It's quite similar to Python. We have the benevolent dictator for life and the benevolent dictator for release, who make the final decision, which features go in, which don't go in. The community of the senior developers made the decision it's a non-fix, it's a bug, or it's not a bug. We have open processes in Python and in PostgreSQL, and I think that's the best thing you can have, because technical decisions, if something is a bug worth fixing, are hard enough. If those decisions get sidelined by political decisions, oh, you did not support my last bug, so I will da-da-da, then it gets more complicated. The PSF board, we have something similar in PostgreSQL. There are local organizations in PostgreSQL Europe. The president will arrive tomorrow afternoon, and they do decisions concerning community and money. Here in PSF, it's also do the PyCon, give grants to developers, and this stuff is with the PSF and the legal thing. One thing we have with Python and with PostgreSQL, we are very conservative on features and very progressive on performance. We make it correct, we make it fast. If you evaluated PostgreSQL some time ago, when there was still a 7 or a 8.0 or even a 6 at the version numbers, and you said, oh, it's nice, but it's too slow, re-evaluate. We had a lot of performance improvements. With 8.1, we redesigned the shared buffer. That's an internal database cache. So it's better if two users access it at the same time. We have the bitmap scans integrated. So we can do nearly, in fact, 2 index scans at one. Auto vacuum, it's an old joke. If you played Vacuum Man, get PostgreSQL. Since 8.1, we have auto vacuum integrated in core. And constraints exclusion for partitioning, that will be a part of advanced PostgreSQL. We have human readable memory settings. We do a lot for user friendliness since 8.1, 8.2. No more putting a vacuum in a cron shop. Now no more putting random integers somewhere. You can do it in megabyte or gigabyte. We can do indexes parallel to usage of the data of the table. We don't have to write log it. We can see how successful is auto vacuum on a database. We can have fill factors for our tables and indexes to leave some space for future rows. And copy, a very powerful command, can now dump on from arbitrary selects. We can export arbitrary selects of our database very, very fast. In 8.3, we found the heap-only tuples. That's the best thing they like since Toast. That is, we can very fast update database rows as long as they don't touch an index. We have double the speed for it. And you see, the database guys are rather conservative. It took us release 8.1 and only 8.3 we switched it on default on. So very careful, it's always careful the data for the impact for everything. We can synchronize commit, switch it off for single transactions. So if we have a web shop and we have orders of shoes and orders of prospects, we can say, oh, if we lose an order for some material, prospect material, we don't care that much. We can switch it off, and a little bit higher risk that database goes in, usually switched off. We can check points. I'll have pictures later on the slide. PostgreSQL writes out his data to the journal, and it gets written to the main databases by a background writer, and there are checkpoints where there is a time when all data is written. We spread those times, which gives a lot of better disk performance. We synchronize sequential scan. So if a big table is scanned completely and somebody started it, and another user requests a query which goes on the same table, we synchronize those scans so that we don't have to do the table scan 2 times. We can also do our logging as comma-separated values to ease analyzers. Something more. We have final grade statistics, we have parallel options since 8.4. It's just some of the performance measures. It's around 10 pages within the release logs and the fine print. So if you had evaluated before 8.4, please re-evaluate the performance parameters of PostgreSQL with 9.0 and 9.1. If you live together your virus and synchronize, and we do the same release cycles with PostgreSQL and Python. Python is 18 months and there's calls for getting it shorter. The early PostgreSQL was very rapid releases, 3 or 4 months. At the moment we are approaching release cycles of 12 to 15 months between versions, major versions. And what the two systems have together, they are very business friendly. I hear from Python and Extract from the commercial sponsors of the Python Software Foundation. You read big names like Google or Microsoft or Lucasfilm, the Omega Symbiote Soap Corporation, business friendly. If you look at PostgreSQL, that are some of the commercial sponsors who use it. We have a very commercial friendly community and a friendly license. Sometimes you may lose some, but you get new ones. And it is very good. I personally do open source because I think it's a superior development method for software. And being part of the community for infrastructure software is the thing that gives me security to provide products to my customers, which will last a long time and which I have a stake in the development. I'm not doing it to be poor. So a community that also accepts that people stand in the front, have an open agenda and the t-shirt of a company is a good thing. Batteries included. We all know Python has a very rich standard library. I don't know if I spelled rich correctly. And PostgreSQL, it's one of the open secrets. If you use PostgreSQL from the PostgreSQL website, the original distribution, you have a config directory where a lot of extensions are bundled with PostgreSQL. If you use Debian, you have to install separate packages, and other package managers the same. But even on the most common desktop operating system, those extensions are already packed within the PostgreSQL installer. The evolution of extensions. If somebody thinks there's something to extend on Python, the project is somewhere. Next step, it gets on GitHub, Bitbucket, Google Code, or SourceForge. Next step, GitHub project link from ipython.org to the project. The usage of the project grows, or it shrinks, but let it grow. The cheese ripens, and people will ask to put that module in the standard library. Somebody has to commit to maintain that module in the long run, and it goes into the standard library to die, as some people say, and it's more frozen, it's synchronized with a release cycle of Python. We have something similar in PostgreSQL. Extension is somewhere, then it gets on GitHub, Bitbucket, Google, SourceForge, and then we have PG Foundry or project PostgreSQL.org, where the extension PostgreSQL lands. Sometime it will make it to contrib when it gets more stable and its release cycle synchronized. And we had it with a full text search, it got into core. And the funny thing, the sisters, we had a synchronized label with packaging. Who remembers the packaging walls of Python? You have been to Birmingham. Oh, this packaging tool and whatever, at many years. And in my 2011, it just looked at the mail from Tarek, who just got the Python award yesterday. He got a new distutils into standard lib. PostgreSQL is very extensible. That's a very powerful feature of Postgres. You can have a lot of extension right into the core, have all indexes, have everything. In the beginning, there were some makefile templates and people struggling around. We got PGXS, Postgres Extension Infrastructure, which really helped in structurizing the extensions and plugins. That's what makes jQuery so successful. And I'm very proud that Dimitri, dear colleague from France, got his patch in, create extension, if not extension name. We are the first database, PostgreSQL, who really has those extensions as a SQL comment conforming to the standard to get extensions like new data types, like new search methods, like whatever, into the database. Academic usage. We know Python is used in CERN. Who was in CERN? Did you see them presenting their job scheduler, doing all the stuff with Python? We have the MTOR Python distribution, they pack all the scientific stuff into it. We have BioPython, we have NumPy, which is very big in the numerical world. We have SciPy, we have the conference of SciPy. Within PostgreSQL, we have the ability to have extension, which makes it very suited if somebody wants to write a PhD. Because you always can start with PostgreSQL and do an extension with some new index series or whatever. We have a type system. You can create totally new data tags which get part of PostgreSQL, and you can do it on the user level. We have pluggable index types. We have templates to create your own indexes. So if you want to prove your paper about indexes that are best for social security numbers or whatever, you can create them on the templates of PostgreSQL, and PostgreSQL will use it in their planner. And it seems to be so easy that we really get beginner questions on the mailing list. So I did just install the Postgre, and my created index does not work. It's really that easy, I never did it myself. So, one big fun thing with PostgreSQL and where the system is really visible, we have a lot of programming languages within the database. We have, that's just some of them, PLSQL, PGSQL. We have Perl, we have Python, we have Java, JavaScript, TCL, R, Scheme, and somebody did PL Mono, so you can do all .NET languages like C#, APL, C++, COBOL, F#, Fortran, Haskell, ML, and there is PL Ruby down there. We have languages and anything, but of course we focus on Python. There was some feature in discussion for 9.1, and I really wanted to have it in there, the JSON data type, because then I could have walked around saying we are the first 3.0 social network database because we can show JSON objects. We still can do. We just store them as text, and you take the power of Python. It's a very simple thing. JSON data I just put into one of the text files. Text files in Python, in PostgreSQL are quite unlimited in their length, though dealing with varchars and whatever. Just say text and put arbitrary lengths up to 1 GB into one field. It gets automatically compressed, everything is done for you. Then I take the data, put it into JSON from Python, the standard library. I get a Python object, and assuming it's a dictionary, I can just take one thing out of it. I can use this Python function to create views, and I really did it. I had some information I only got as JSON documents, and I stored it into database fields. I created my view to have a table view. If you have to connect to other legacy databases in the company, I have done something. It's a scary Oracle table, and I just take 2 columns out of it. And in PostgreSQL, we can return a set of something. That is a custom type I defined. It consists at the moment of, that's a text and that's an integer, 2 columns. I created your own type, and then I do Zeek's Oracle, the best Oracle driver available for Python. You have to set the language before you import it and whatever. Then you get it connection, you do your cursor, a simple DB-AP execute. I get all the data and I commit. I have a object which is empty. I just needed to put my attributes on it. I take my field names in lowercase, and then I loop through my data I requested from the database. I create a new object. I enumerate it, I set the attributes, and I pad that object. And then I return that, and I can create a view which just selects all the columns. And I have the possibility to create a virtual table which is the result of some Python communication. It could also be a connection to Google to get the knowledge of the world or something. I can do it within the database. Now, let's get to serious business. Data security. Not security, keeping the data, not losing data. Imagine you don't have some low-value data like Facebook Frintless, but some high-value data, like your gold in an online role-playing game, and you decide to buy a new piece of armor, and you give the gold, and now the server crashes, maybe his Solaris license expired or something, so it crashes in the middle of the transaction. You really want that the gold goes back to your money. If it's a Facebook, for instance, you don't care, but it's gold in a real online role-playing game, you really care. So, PostgreSQL, some people say, oh, we invented it, it's wrong. It was invented by the Italians, I guess 600 years ago, with bookkeeping. There were lower qualified clerks who wrote in a journal the day-to-day happenings in the business. In Postgres, we call it write-ahead log, but it's just a journal. You write it down, and it's synchronized to the disk. And then some higher qualified people transfer the information from this journal. In German, it's called Hauptbuch, and that's a real Hauptbuch from a smoking supply company in Leipzig, where the German PyCon 2011 will be. Shameless plug. And in PostgreSQL, it's the BG writer who transfers it. But every transaction is written into the journal first before it goes in the main thing. So we're using 600 years old concepts to do our stuff, and it really helps us to use the private cloud. It was formerly called a high availability cluster, but the private cloud is more buzzword bingy. You have 3 servers, and you want to use that idea of a journal that gets written to a main book. You just tell one of the servers, hey, if you write this journal, put it on the line and send it to other servers. And then you apply it, and the others apply it. And that's called streaming replication, and my colleague Gabriele and Marco and Carlo will do it tomorrow in the afternoon with getting ready for 9.0. They will explain about synchronous and asynchronous. What I have here, that's a cloud agent, and we can do scaling with it very well. Because if he has to write, he sends it here. If he has to read, he asks one of the others. So we have unlimited scalability because we can copy this to as much as your license of your operating system allows. We can send our logs to multiple computers. He reads to them. Then we have a tool called PG Bouncer, which directs the queries to the correct system, and we have unlimited scalability in the cloud. And that is how you extract synergies of cloud-based PostgreSQL.
Except for writing, right?
Yes, of course. You transfer the writing here. We do not do multi-master.
No, I mean the write performance is not that stable.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
The read performance. And it's like with programming. Most times you read, you write less. if you write more than you read, it makes no sense in writing. So, the pictures are credit of those people. I thank you, and I ask you to use Postgres to make an elephant happy. Thank you very much. We still have some minutes left for questions.
Yeah, some questions? Anybody? Not this card.
Nobody scared? No problem. Hanno.
I'm Hanno Grossing from also second one, and then not ask but answer a kind of question about the write performance. There are quite easy ways to split the writing also by sharding the database, and there is a special language, PL proxy, where you define a function, and the function itself says the function code actually defines on which partition to run the data, this function. And by doing that, you can actually run things, say, on 8 or 16 or 32 parts of database. And we invited it when I was working at Skype, and I think the biggest database running now on 64 or even more partitions. And they are actually right close to databases, like backups of your contact lists. What you refer to as low value. And so, because mostly you use them from your own computer, so they are just the backups. And the read-write ratio is such that you mostly write, and that's the way to infinitely scale the write performance.
Thank you.
When you use PL Python, I saw an U language, PL Python U, which yesterday I heard stands for untrusted.
Yes.
Can you explain the concept?
Yes. We're talking about trust. And PostgreSQL trusts not even its sister Python. It trusts a language only if you can't do anything that will touch anything outside the database. So there is no sandboxing in Python. If you have Python, you can access things outside the local database. You can access the data directory, the OS system of something, and you can do bad things. So it's not trusted. Not trusted means it is only available to super users. And the definition, oh, thank you. The definition of function is only available to super user. Of course, if you trust the super user, he can allow the execution of the function to normal users. But we need to have a user we can trust to use an untrusted language. It's a language for consenting adults, and databases should also be sure for children.
Okay, anybody else?
Whatever is untrusted, they made a trusted version of Perl, they sandboxed it somewhere, I don't know how. And as soon as you can make sure that the language does not access the file system, you can trust it. Yes. And I try to persuade some implementers of another version of Python, which is not written in C, which has a sandbox. Like we find a PL PyPy, maybe, which would have a sandbox, which could be trusted.
Thanks.
Okay. So, thank you very much, Harold.
Thank you again.